Hey there, Wolfpack fans. It's me again, Kenton Gibbs, with my main man, Grayson Boone, and we are talking all things basketball today. We have a massive weekend of games coming in terms of our men going on the road to take on Wake Forest and our women's team playing Notre Dame in what could be an upset that could get us back on track to kind of where we wanted to be and where we kind of expected and thought we'd be. And it is in Reynolds. So, we're going to talk all that because there is plenty to be excited about, to get up for, to be jazzed about, geeked about, whatever words you want to use to express how excited you are. There are plenty of reasons to be that this weekend for NC State. But before we get into that, I've got to tell you that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started today. So, Grayson, are you ready to dive head first into an action-packed weekend of ball?
Let's get after it. Let's shoot some hoops.
All righty. Well, let's talk about some making buckets and getting stops, hopefully, on today's episode of Locked On Wolfpack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So, Grayson, we start off this weekend with a game that will be taking place shortly after this will be finished recording, in terms of our men's basketball team being on the road and taking on Wake Forest. And, it's never an easy time to win in Winston-Salem, but especially this year where, you lose a ACC Player of the Year candidate in Alondis Williams, and somehow as a team, as a cohesive unit, you get better with guys stepping up and all that good stuff. And so this is a Wake Forest team that's right there in contention for a spot in the tournament as well. Tell me a little bit what you think this game means to NC State and Wake Forest at this point in the season.
It's a big one. It's a very big one. I would argue that this game on the road might be even bigger than the one we played in Chapel Hill just last weekend. But humongous opportunity. We're tied with Wake Forest right now in the ACC standings. Like I mentioned a couple episodes ago, Wake Forest has been a pretty good surprise this year in the ACC. They've played kind of above their expectation this year. They have a lot of dynamic playmakers on offense. They're a little bit weak on the defensive side of the ball. We'll break that down in a second, but they will come at you. They're going to score to a high rate. So we need to make sure we're bringing our defense with us out to Winston-Salem. And I want some ice cream, man. I want ice cream so bad today. We've had a lot of struggles over the years going over to Winston and playing over there. I hope we can nip that in the bud today. I hope Keats is looking at ice cream parlors in the Winston area because they need to hit one today. We need some ice cream.
And you know what? And looking at this game, like you said, it is a big one. But when I talk about it's not just about winning the games that you're supposed to win. It's about avoiding losses that you're not supposed to have. Now, realistically, right, when in looking at this game from a standpoint of what the experts say or believe is going to happen or whatever the case is going to be, Vegas has Wake Forest favored by 3.5. Of course, we know that home court advantage for about 3 points. So really, Vegas is saying this is a push more or less, but NC State is on the road. Here's my thing about this game and why it's so important in avoiding losses that you are supposed to not have. NC State right now is our net rating is 43, or 43rd in the country, right? Wake Forest is 68th. We objectively cannot, yes, we're tied in conference. Yes, both teams are very similar in terms of Wake Forest being 14-7 overall, NC State being 16-5. But the reality is simple. In terms of, again, not giving latitude to not giving solid footing to, hey, does this team need to be in the tournament or out? You need to win games like this. And yes, Wake Forest does come with a very balanced attack. They come with 4 players, I believe, that are averaging double digits on the season. They come with a situation where Appleby can get off, Guthrie can get off, Monsanto can get off. All of these different guys any night could be their night. But the reality is they have struggled with really, really good perimeter players. And with that being said, I don't think that there are a lot of premier big man scorers in today's college basketball game, the likes of a DJ Burns. And so we have there are some spots where we can get in, take advantage, and make something shake in that regard.
Yeah, and this is a big game, not just for us, but also for Wake Forest. I think they're on a 2-game skid right now. They just lost a tough one the other night against Pitt. So they need this game just as bad as we do. They're going to be getting up for it. It's a big home game for them. Anytime one of the big four plays each other, it's you don't have to hype it too much because it's already getting the excitement it deserves. So Wake's going to show up. We need to make sure we show up. Just getting off the bus, given that defensive intensity. If you want to get into the keys, I can go ahead and start that. But I think a really big point of emphasis for us in this game is going to be rebounding. Now that goes without saying, but when you're playing against a Wake Forest that is good as they are offensively, we can't give them second opportunities. We need to make sure we're crashing the boards, taking away, extra rebounds that they need to hit another three or, make something else happen. We got to make sure we take that away as much as we possibly can. So that's going to fall in the hands of, an Ibi Duana, a Ernest Ross, a Greg Gant. Really big opportunity for them to step up, play some key minutes, grab some keyboards. We're going to need all the help we can get because they are offensively very strong.
Absolutely. You know what? I want you to get into your keys because I want to know what is the recipe for getting us some ice cream in this game? What is the recipe for snagging a road win in Winston-Salem, which is kind of eluded some very good teams this year, including the team that's atop the conference right now in Clemson?
Right. So, yeah, like I just mentioned, rebounding is going to be a big one. Wake Forest kind of struggles with rebounding at times. So, we need to get in there and just take care of business, clean up the boards. Talking to DJ Burns as well. Need to clean up the boards, team rebounding, box out, outlet passes, make sure that we are not giving them any extra opportunities. Now, that being said, we also need to focus on creating turnovers. After our performance the other night against Notre Dame, I believe we're now first in the ACC in turnover margin after only turning the ball over 2 times the other night. That was awesome. A performance like that would go a long way today. So create havoc on the defensive end, make Wake uncomfortable, and make sure we're taking the ball or taking good care of the ball for us offensively. Creating a bunch of turnovers for a team that, prides themselves on their offense, that can very quickly take them out of the game that they're trying to play. So we need to make sure we're getting the steals, getting the blocks, closing out on screens, closing out on rebounds. Just get after the basketball. And then third and finally, goes without saying, this, in my opinion, needs to be a Terquavion Smith game. I need him to be efficient, not just in shooting, but in passing. I think a big recipe for success is if the Wolfpack win, Terquavion will have at least 21 points and 6 assists. I think if he doesn't hit both of those marks, I don't know if we come out with a W here. So we need efficient shooting as well. Like we mentioned, Wake really struggles guarding the perimeter. That opens up a lot of opportunities for Terquavion, for Casey Morsell, for Jarkel Joyner. We need to make sure we're creating those perimeter opportunities and knocking them down when we get them.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. In looking at these teams overall, NC State is we are the number one scoring offense in the conference, right? Averaging more points per game than anybody else by 0.1 point over the boys in baby blue from down the street. And Wake Forest is, statistically speaking, one of the worst defenses in terms of points allowed. But that is because of the style of basketball that they play and the style of basketball that we play. So what do I mean by that? The style of basketball that Wake Forest plays, they are very perimeter oriented. They are very much so in they operate on a standpoint of if you can get an open three, you need to take it. And with that being said, a lot of threes being shot leads to what? Long rebounds. What do long rebounds lead to? Transition opportunities. Like you said, that 6 assist number, if we were playing the team that was very slow pace, very half court, grit and grind out, all right, that may be asking a lot of Terquavion. But in a game where I feel like this would be an up and down the court a lot type of game, the opportunities will be there. he'll be the guy with the ball in his hands on a good amount of those fast breaks or transition opportunities. And it's incumbent upon him and Jarkel Joyner to find the guys that are open, find the cutters to the rim, find the guys open from deep and all that. And that to me is where you can see those 6 assists come in at. And so with that being said, if you had to give a prediction for this game, what do you got?
I mean, like I said, Wake needs this game just as bad as we do. Like you just mentioned, this is going to be a very fast-paced game. It's going to be up-tempo, probably from first whistle to last whistle. So it's going to be imperative we cause havoc. It's going to be imperative we get down the floor in transition. Maybe I'm looking through some red-colored glasses, but I like us today. I think we can pull this out. I think we can cause enough havoc defensively and make sure we're getting the open shots, crashing the boards. I got NC State 84, Wake Forest 79. It's a close one, and I think it's going to come down to free throw shooting in the end. Something that we have been good at recently. I don't want to put a hex on Jarkel Joyner, but he has put a lot of free throws in consecutively. I will not say the number because I'm not going to jinx him, but he's hit a lot of them in a row. So we're going to need that today at the end of the game, in my opinion.
If he misses a free throw today, Wolfpack Nation, we are blaming Grayson Boone as a collective. You never talk about the kicker.
I didn't say how many.
I'm going to say this. I agree with you that I see Wake Forest scoring exactly 79 points. However, I do disagree with you on the 84 part for NC State. I've got NC State winning an extremely close game, 80-79. And let me tell you why. I think, I believe, in my heart of hearts, I believe that we have the better decision makers with the ball late. I believe that Jarkel Joyner is the guy who we have the ball in his hands late in order to kind of make a play in terms of depending on how their defense plays it. He has been extremely effective receiving the ball at that high post area, which that's not something that you normally see out of a smaller guard, out of a guard that's not a big body guy. And I feel like if we don't do anything else, if we don't know anything about drawing up plays, about winning time and about all that, Jarkel at that high post area against a team that struggles to defend perimeter players who excel at multiple things, giving him the option, giving him a go of like, all right, we've got some action going on over here, maybe a little pin down or some floppy action working on the backside, and then he's on the front side with maybe a shooter in the corner, and then you get him at that area with Terquavian probably at the top of the key, maybe a little deep to knock down a potential deep three to win it. I think that's a great opportunity for us. I think that that's a moment that we look at and say, you know what? This game, because honestly and truly, I believe that this game will be super back and forth, super up and down. I think that I think that they'll come out more desperate than we are. I think they shouldn't because this team, like I said multiple times, Keats is coaching for his coaching life here. That's the reality. They shouldn't, but I have a sneaky feeling that they will come out more desperate than us. But as the game goes on, if we can withstand the initial punch that I feel like is coming, as the game goes on, we'll kind of be closer and closer and closer. We'll take a lead, and then at the end, we'll kind of make some faulty decisions that make it close because, we can't ever just win by 15, 20. We got to keep it close.
That'd be way too easy, man.
Exactly. It'd be way too easy for the cardiac pack. So we're gonna make it close. But I feel like we'll have something good happen at the end there because, again, although I haven't seen much to indicate that we know how to draw up many plays at the end of a game, I believe that we've seen enough of what works to know, all right, this is what works in these moments, and this is what we need to get this situation to. So we'll see. We'll see as to whether or not we're right, and we'll see as to whether or not we just lost some folks some money or won some folks some money with our predictions here. And speaking of winning and losing money, I've got to talk to you all about FanDuel. Folks, it is simple. It is easy. The NFL playoffs are here. College basketball is here. The NHL is here and in full swing. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the number one sports book in America, and that's where we want you to go in terms of all of your sports betting needs. That's FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers, join today and get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed. All you have to do is place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at fanduel.com/locked on. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Doesn't matter. They've got it all. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. All on an app that is safe, secure, super easy to use. So, football fans, basketball fans, hockey fans, by the way, if you saw those ice pack jerseys, even if you ain't a hockey fan, you might need to get into one of those. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at fanduel.com/locked on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports book of the NFL. So, Grayson, we've talked about the men's game, but now we've got a battle of two ranked teams in Notre Dame coming on into Reynolds. And this is a game in which, again, we have seen this women's basketball team go on a little bit of a snide, and we've seen this women's basketball team kind of pull themselves out of the snide with 2 straight wins. Does their winning ways continue in this game? Words are beating me up this morning. Do their winning ways continue in this game?
It's an uphill battle, to say the least. Notre Dame is extremely solid. They just played the Florida State team that whooped up on us, and Notre Dame killed them. So they are the real deal. Unfortunately for Notre Dame, they did lose their 3-point specialist in Darren Mabry. That sucks. She's a great player. Hate to see her, lose out on the rest of the season to an ACL. But Notre Dame, they got a lot of dynamic playmakers. We witnessed this firsthand when we saw them in the Sweet 16 last year in the women's tournament. In all intents and purposes, they had us beat there at the end of the game. We found a way to claw back and take that game away from them. You have to imagine that's going to be at the forefront of their mind today when they're coming into Reynolds. They're going to be angry about that loss last year. They're going to want to get some revenge today. They have the team to get the revenge. Unfortunately, they are a very, very good, very sound fundamental basketball team. But you look at NC State, we've kind of turned things around a bit with wins last week against Miami and on the road against Louisville. A win today would really, really help our progress moving forward, finishing the ACC season through February, going into the tournament. A win today would build a tremendous amount of momentum, knocking off a team like Notre Dame, especially here in Reynolds. We've all witnessed firsthand how rowdy Reynolds can get when the fans bring it. They're going to be sold out in Reynolds this weekend. I believe the women's basically sell out every game in Reynolds this year. I keep seeing sold out posts on their Instagram. So, man, it's tough. It's going to be a tough game. Wes Moore is going to have to get the absolute most out of this team rebounding, making the extra pass, finding the girl in transition. It's tough. It's tough.
When I look at this game, I see 2 teams that are kind of in the opposite shoes of where they were last year when they met, right? You've got one team that has that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in them, and that you don't know sometimes which NC State team you're going to get, because when they're locked in defensively and all that, and when the seniors are leading the charge offensively, this is a team that can beat anybody. But when they're kind of in that malaise defensively where it's like, do we really want to try that hard today? We've seen us get run out of the gym by anybody. And, no offense to Florida State, that team is not 21 points better than this team player for player, but that's what happens when you sit there and you don't prepare the right way, and you're not and you're not locked in defensively in terms of getting your assignments down and knowing, hey, Latson is their best player. She is the engine that makes this train go. We've done it earlier with Caitlin Clark that, hey, if you cut off the head of the snake, the body does not know where to go, but we couldn't do it there. So last year we saw that with Notre Dame in terms of like they were the team that was mercurial up and down. You didn't know. And we were the older team that was the pride of the conference, the leaders, the ones who had the core that had been together forever. Well, now that's Notre Dame, right? Olivia Miles seems like she's been there for quite some time doing her thing. Maddie Westbelt seems like she's been there for forever doing her thing. And so you look at this game and you say, well, last year they did beat us in the regular season, despite the fact that everybody thought, oh, they're good, but they're not ready yet. They found a way due to matchups and them just having a hot shooting night, us having an off shooting night. I think the same thing can work in NC State's favor here. I don't think that there are 3 better players in the conference suited to contain an Olivia Miles, because I don't think you ever stop a player like that. I think you can hope to contain her. I don't think that there are many players in the conference better suited to do so than Sanaya Rivers. If you look at the job that she did on Haley Van Lith, yes, Haley was having an off night. Yes, Haley got to her spots at times and just missed shots that she normally missed. But again, not allowing the easy buckets is part of that, because really, really good players, sometimes they just need to see 1 or 2 go through the hoop. And then all of a sudden, my right hand starts tingling a little bit. I may not be able to miss here for my next 5 or 6 shots. But when you deny those easy buckets and you make everything tough on them, that's where you win. I'm looking at Sanaya and Madison Hayes as 2 players that are going to be probably going to be on Olivia Miles a lot. And I'm looking at those 2 and saying, hey, y'all got a task up ahead of you. You've got a tall task ahead of you. How are you going to handle it? And for our seniors offensively, y'all have a tall task, because this Notre Dame team, it's not just Olivia Miles that can get hot. When they get hot, it's like it spreads through the whole team, and all of a sudden they go on these streaks where they can't miss. Very similar to where we were last year. So with that being said, if you can do what they did last year and withstand those punches, because they're going to have some moments where they throw some big haymakers at you. And if you can keep it within striking distance and make some plays in winning time, we can come away with a win here.
Yeah. So, I picked a men's player to kind of hone in on for today. My women's player for the Notre Dame is going to be Camille Hobby. I think she's kind of been up and down this year. This is a game where, just as bad as anyone else, we need her to step up. We need her to be that defensive presence in the key, make sure that they are not getting those easy buckets like you just mentioned, but making sure you're creating and converting the looks that you do get with the hook shots, the easy layups. Got to make sure we're cleaning up on the inside on the boards. I'm looking at Camille Hobby to be a fierce presence for this women's team to try and get this W on Sunday. I think, we need somebody to step up that's not always just Jada Boyd, that's not always just Sanaya Rivers. It's going to take more than just those 2. A Jakia Brown-Turner, she needs to have a big game. But I think Camille Hobby is going to be the ultimate key to whether or not the Wolfpack can pull this game out.
And so, with that being said, when you look at this game and you talk about who you're looking at to make a big impact, for me personally, I'm looking at Jada Boyd, and I know that she's a little bit hobbled. She's been a little bit injured lately and all that good stuff. But again, offensively, I'm looking at our seniors to get the job done here. And more so than our seniors getting the job done offensively, there is a very important part to this, in that they like to get out and run, but they get out and run because Lauren Ebo, the starting center for Notre Dame, is one of the best outlet passers that I've seen in women's basketball in quite some time. And she is, again, Olivia Miles is the engine that gets it going. But to a certain extent, if Olivia Miles is the engine, Ebo is a little bit of the conductor and saying, all right, this is, as soon as I get this defensive rebound, I'm going to find my guys up court. I'm going to find somebody that's open to get us into transition. And so if you can keep her off the boards or potentially get her in foul trouble, you're going to establish a very different rhythm for that offense than would be otherwise if she's having a big night on the boards and a big night scoring down low. Because we all know when bigs get to scoring, that's when they get their most involved, they get their most active. And of course, at 6'4", you're going to be a somewhat decent rim protector at minimum. And she's a lot better than somewhat decent at doing that. So I agree. We're both looking in the front court for this game, but I'm going to name one more player. Diamond Johnson has to have a big night. When they took us down last year, it was because Olivia Miles had a good night. It was because they found ways to get scoring from multiple sources, but their stars showed up. Diamond Johnson has to show up and be the star that we all know she is. That is the player to me. Her and Jada Boyd are two players to me that I'm looking at and saying, hey, this game is largely going to be dependent on y'all. And if we get a Jakia Brown-Turner sighting where she go ahead and drop some 15, 17 on, I ain't going to be mad at it. I ain't going to be, it ain't going to be upsetting to me. It ain't going to upset me and my homegirls if she does so. So with that being said, give me your prediction for this game, Grayson.
Okay, I'll put it to you like this. If NC State comes out with the win, it is because we find a way to out-rebound Notre Dame. They're a fierce rebounding team. We're going to have to find a way to out-rebound them. We're going to have to find a way to limit our turnovers, creating and converting the opportunities that we do get on the offensive side of the ball. If we can play team basketball, team rebound, I'm going to go with NC State 72, Notre Dame 68. It's going to be, if we win, I keep saying if, it's going to be a very close game. It's going to be very intensely matched. Notre Dame's going to bring the ferocity. If we do all the things right, I hate relying on luck as something you need to look for in a game because, that's not ever anything you can control. I think we're going to have to rely on maybe Notre Dame having an off day. They just can't find a way to put the ball in the bucket. But if we do all the little things right, I think we can pull this out.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I've done this before, and I'm always glad to be wrong when this happens. Always very glad to be wrong when this happens. I'm going to have to go against the pack here.
You did it.
I'm going to have to do it. And it hurts my heart to do this, but I've got to do it because we are looking at a situation where we have a lot of players who can show up, who can, when they're flowing, they get really hot, they get really good, and we are as a team. Again, like I said, the defensive intensity, when it's there, and we're locked in. It feels like at times this team believes that they have a switch that they can flip, but they're not that talented, with all due respect. They are a good team, but like when I think about teams with a switch that they can flip, that means that you are head and shoulders above everybody else. And that's the way that I would believe in that team to be the top 10 team in the country, right? So if you look at, for example, Georgia football, they had times this year where it was like, they were just like, it's all right. We'll flip a switch and we'll get you. We'll throttle you. They could do that, right? You look at the Chiefs in the NFL. The Chiefs, they have Patrick Mahomes. Of course they have a switch. Of course they can we can kind of turn on the faucet and roll there. You look at the NBA, and over the past few years, it's been the Warriors who have we've got a switch we can flip. Again, all of these teams are head and shoulders above their competition, per se. And yes, I know the Warriors in the middle of a 4-game losing streak. Yes, I know that the Chiefs are about to play a team that is 3-0 against them with Joe Burrow quarterback. I understand all that. But I'm saying, as a generality, they are, compared to the average, much, much more talented, miles ahead. So, with that being said, I don't think that they'll be able to flip on the switch this time. And I think that we do play focused, intent defense, but I think the offense ends up being the problem in this game. I've got us losing a low-scoring slugfest, 55-42.
Woo!
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, I think we do a good job of containing them, but I think offensively, I don't know why, but it just feels like all season we've kind of struggled to have back-to-back or consistently good offensive performances against some of the better teams in the nation defensively. And Notre Dame is nothing to scoff at defensively. And I don't see us I don't see us getting there. I know 42 would be our season low in terms of scoring, but I don't know. I feel like we're gonna struggle today. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping and wishing and praying that I'm wrong, but that's just how I see this thing shaking out. Stick with us. After a quick word from our sponsors, we're gonna land this thing. So, Grayson, in conclusion, you've got 2 Wolfpack wins. I've got 1 win by our men, 1 loss by our women. So it is a possibility that both of us end up wrong here, and it could be that only our women end up winning and not our men's team. But with that being said, in terms of how these 2 programs are heading, I honestly and truly see this as like a really, really great time for NC State basketball, in that there's an expectation amongst our women's basketball team that's like, wait a minute, we have more than 3 regular season losses. What's happening here? And with our men's team, we're heading in an area where not only do we feel like we have a chance in each game, we feel like you should win this game against another quality opponent. You should win this game. I don't believe Wake Forest is quad 1. I think they're quad 2, but you still feel like, hey, we should win this. We got a shot here and we should win this game. So I think all in all, the men's basketball team is headed in the right direction. The women's basketball team, everything is cyclical. You will not be the best team in the conference forever. But even still, I'm looking at this women's team optimistic because, again, you've got, I want to say, at least Diamond Johnson's a junior now? So
junior.
You've got, and I believe she has a COVID year as well, or am I incorrect there? I believe she does.
Yeah, technically, yeah, I think she should.
So you've got at least 1 more year of Diamond. You've got at least Sanaya Rivers transferred into the sophomore. So you got 2 more years of her. You've got, so many players here who, like, yes, you would have loved to take advantage of Mimi Collins transferring in and River Baldwin transferring in, and you would have loved to see us have the ability to kind of, take them to deep into NCAA tournament or national championship type territory right away, which that doesn't look like it'll be the case this year. But again, could be wrong there as well. But with that being said, I think that they're in a good situation as well, to where, again, neither of these teams are I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is a destitute program. Something needs to change. Something needs to happen. I think they're both going the course the right way.
No, and something we said in another episode, outside of legitimately just being undefeated, what more could you want as an NC State basketball fan? What we saw out of the men's team last year, the bottom of the barrel. Credit to Keats, outstanding job in the transfer portal, bringing in these stars that have very well meshed together to create the product that we're seeing. If we win today at Wake Forest, I believe it'll be our best month of January since 2002, with a 6-1 record in January. That's outstanding. Would any of us have predicted to find ourselves in this position? Probably not. But here we are. It's very exciting. We're in the mix in the middle of the ACC, kind of fighting to get toward the top half of the ACC. But very exciting. I'm just as excited for this women's team. This is a humongous opportunity at home against Notre Dame. So much so, I know men's team, they get ice cream on the road. If the women's team knocks off Notre Dame, I will get ice cream in their honor on Sunday. My promise to y'all, I'll go get ice cream because they deserve it if they knock off Notre Dame. So big weekend for Pac basketball, both men and women. Very excited to see how this all plays out.
You know what? We'll start off. We'll start off the next episode with some ice cream.
I'll eat ice cream on air. I'll
exactly,
do it right here.
Exactly. We'll start off with a couple scoops of good stuff. If we get 2 wins this weekend, I'm definitely doing it.
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna just tell you, if we win either one of these, right? Wake Forest on the road, that's ice cream worthy. Our women knocking off Notre Dame, that's ice cream worthy. Either way, if we get an NC State win, y'all best believe I'm gonna be here with the fresh scoop, with the big spoon now. The big spoon, not the little spoon. We're big guys on this show, all right? Grayson's a little less big than me, but he's a big guy in his own right. And we're going to go ahead and get us some ice cream. Thank y'all so very much for coming out. We appreciate you every single time, Wolfpack Nation. Y'all make this show what it is. Peace and love, y'all. And as always, go Pack.
Go Pack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.